I would offer 2 first-round picks to the Niners or the Rams for their head coach every single offseason until I got them, because of what you just said. Because look, like, you've done the modeling before. A head coach is worth, like, would you say, on average, the best coaches are worth about a win and a half, right? More or less.
I'd agree.
So, you look at a $225 million salary cap, 8.5 wins times 4. That coach is going to be worth about $130 million over the course of that time period, right? We saw Peyton got paid about 20. Like, if you and this needs ownership too, and this is one of the things where if you trade first round picks for a player like Frank Clark, and you're spending a lot of money for an asset that has a narrower distribution, but you're spending assets and paying a lot under the cap. That cap charge is a problem. If I spend 2 first round picks and then I spend the money to make him happy, that money is uncapped, right? That's an edge you can get over the competition by using ownership to get you a better asset. And now, because you're paying for something that has a narrow distribution, you can buy variance other places if you want to win. So I'm taking 2 first round picks. And the reason I come across 2 first round picks is this reason. So $131 million, I make the surplus value of, and again, surplus value here is just value because they don't cost anything relative to the cap. I understand they cost something to the owner, but again, we're thinking about the owner not having cash restraints. About $50 million over the course of a 4-year stretch is what a first-round pick is worth surplus value-wise, more or less. Like, you can estimate it more, and this is in 2023 cap dollars. So 50 times 2, that's 100. That gets you to that 100. About 31 is going to be what I kind of have to pay him over a course of a little bit. I'm probably 2 first-round picks may be too much, but like, it's kind of in that ballpark there where you go 2 ones and then a salary will get you to what that guy's really worth. And I'm pretty sure I can get those. I'm pretty sure I can convince one of those teams eventually if I keep banging on that door. Like, you think the Rams right now wouldn't take 2 ones?
Yeah, I mean, we know how the Rams feel about first round picks, but maybe they would change their mind
trying to rebuild, right? Like,
yeah,
San Francisco might not take 2 ones, but because they probably know how great their coach is. But like, I would make them turn it down every year. At some point, you got to make them turn it down, don't you?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think 2 ones is the fair price because I think Sean Payton ended up getting traded for a first this year and a second the year after that. So like, you can kind of see the compensation for someone like him who probably has less of time left coaching in the league. So if you were to trade 2 firsts for a Kyle Shanahan, a Sean McVay, or even I think someone that we both like a lot, Matt LaFleur at the Packers, like, I think that those are some coaches that you would definitely try to trade the first round pick for, which I think is really interesting. And it goes back to, if you do a trade like the trading for Orlando Brown or trading for AJ Brown or Tyreek Hill, like we've seen these past couple of years, trading first round picks for players. What you mentioned is, it's not only that you're giving up those first round picks, but you almost always have to give them an extension on top of that, because they're usually being traded in the last year or the second last year of their current contract, which was the case for a lot of these trades. But for that coach, that extension doesn't have to come into play against the salary cap, right? It only comes into play when you just evaluate these coaches just from an owner's cash perspective, which, if you're a GM, I think as long as you get the green light to do that, you should be more comfortable with that.
Yeah, I know our friends in the league who are listening to the show, of which there are many, will tell us, oh, you're being too naive. The ownership still, you need to convince. It's not just cap and cash. I do think they're right about that, but there are teams namely like Cleveland, Philadelphia is one of them, and Philadelphia, that big edge they have is just like they're not afraid to spend money to win, right? And they're not afraid to push money in the future and all this kind of stuff. And they're not afraid to take chances and let the math play out, but that requires resources. A team like Kansas City, is a little bit less that way, right? Like the reason the reason DeAndre Hopkins hasn't been traded for, and the reason that Chris Jones hasn't been signed to an extension is they got a lot of like their cash and cap is going to be different than other teams, right? And they can't necessarily go to ownership and be like, hey, we want more money. Now they'll be able to get, people don't realize this, but the only money that teams get that they don't have to distribute to other teams in the revenue sharing is merchandise and sales at the stadium during games, which the last time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they got screwed because in 2020, there was no fans in the games. And so they didn't get the bounty of that, but they will get it this year. There are constraints here, and that's another level. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we